Sir Isaac Newton was one of the greatest scientists in history. Among his many achievements were that he derived the law of universal gravitation. You remember the story of the apple and so on. And he invented the branch of mathematics called calculus. He was also a believer in God and a devout student of the Bible. Unfortunately, he apparently could not afford a barber. But I want to paraphrase a story that you can find in a number of places on the internet, at least I found it several places, about Newton. Newton had a friend who didn't believe the evidence for the existence of God. And so Isaac had a skilled craftsman make a model of the solar system. Now, there are lots of similar models like this today, and you can find, again, pictures of this on the internet. This is a picture of one of them that I found, but there's a number of them. But he had one that he made because he wanted to teach this friend. The idea of the model is, you see the crank here, you turn the crank, and then the different planets and so on would rotate around the sun. Now, this obviously is not to scale. The Earth is obviously not bigger than the sun. They must have done this to make the detail of the Earth. But you get the idea of it. This was not his, but this is the kind of thing. And like I say, there's a number of these apparently that exist today. So you turn the crank, and then the planets revolve and rotate around the sun and so on. So he made this, and then he had it placed on the table. When his friend came to visit, then his friend looked at it, of course, and was fascinated, saw what happened when it worked and so on. And he exclaimed, "What an exquisite thing." He said, "Who made it?" Newton said, "Nobody." And his friend said, "Evidently you didn't understand me. I asked who made this." He said, "Nobody, it just happened." And the friend kind of got upset about that. He said, "Of course somebody made it. I want to know who he is." And so Newton explained to him then, he said, "This thing is just a puny imitation of the much grander system whose laws you know, and I'm not able to convince you that this toy exists without a maker. But you profess to believe that the great original from which the design is taken came into being without a designer or a maker. Now please tell me about what kind of reasoning you reached that conclusion." So Newton's model illustrates that the universe, just looking at a model like that, anybody would know that somebody made it. It didn't just happen by accident or by natural processes. Somebody with intelligence made the model. And if that's true, then certainly the same must be true for the thing that the model is supposed to imitate, and that is the sun, the moon, and the stars, and so on, or at least the planets. And so the model illustrates that the real solar system, which in every way is greater than the model, had to have a maker. And not only that, but that maker had to be extremely intelligent and very skilled to make that. And that's exactly, of course, what the Bible says about it. Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 4 says, "For every house is built by someone, but he who built all things is God." Psalm 19 verse 1, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament shows his handiwork." Romans 1 and verse 20, "For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse." So there's no excuse for anyone who does not understand that God created the universe and that God therefore deserves to be served. What about you and me then? Do we truly believe in this God? And are we faithfully serving him as we should? If you're not a Christian, why not become one this evening? Or you need the prayer of the congregation, please come forward and make it known as we stand and as we sing.